Episode of the Proton Pack Podcast. I'm Kris, and with me always is the pinky to my brain, Tony. Say hey, Tone.
Hey, everybody.
Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Oh, yeah. It's good to be back. Episode 58 of the Proton Pack, baby.
Yeah, we've got all kinds of stories lined up. You know, obviously, things have been a little slow, but I just realized that Pinky in the Brain could be a euphemism for the nether region, if you know what I mean.
Oh. Boom, jagga, wow, wow.
I wonder if they did that on purpose, or who knows.
You're right, man. That gets a woo. That's the first woo of the show, man.
In any case, you know what? We're going to go ahead and start things.
I can't look at it the same anymore. Marv! Monkey cat.
And they just want to take over the world. But folks, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start off the show the way we do each and every episode with some shameless plugs. Tony, go ahead and hit that button.
Shameless plug time.
As soon as he finds it.
Money. Here it is.
It's shameless plug time.
But in these hills that Juan Valdez and his trusty goat gather coffee beans every morning. What is cool?
That'd be cool if I got the buttons together today, just to find. We're good.
Yeah, I've been trying to turn Tony onto a actual soundboard that he can organize and
yeah.
do. Yeah.
When I actually splurge and buy a new computer, I'll get it so that way it'll just be on the screen versus trying to use like a dated iPad and a dated Mac and hey, you just get a.
Guess what, bitch? Coronavirus.
It just gets not a coronavirus, but a computer virus, and it doesn't work so well.
Yeah, we'll just blame it all on the coronavirus. But in any case,
like it.
Shameless.
Coronavirus.
Shameless.
Coronavirus.
Boy, she just keeps going. Shameless plugs.
That's all that. It's that wet ass pierogi she eats.
Right?
You know?
Yeah. Don't want to think about that.
Yeah. Speaking of pinkies.
But we are talking about shameless plugs, and let's talk about the first one. It is what we talk about each shameless plug. My dog rescue nonprofit. It is a 501c3 dog rescue called Rough Riders. What we do is we pull dogs from the rural kill shelters out here in the northern Nevada area, drive them into the metro area, work with local shelters, local rescue groups to find them homes, give them a second chance at life. Again, that is Rough Riders, and you can find out more information at roughriders.org. That's RUFF riders.org, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Rough Riders Saves. We're always looking for donations as we're saving up to try and get a transport van to move more dogs at any given time. Again, that is roughriders.org. So by all means, check it out. And if you got a few bucks to spare, we always love the tax-deductible donation, so something you can write off. Moving over to Tony's shameless plug, he does a little thing with our friend Jimmy Jones each and every Sunday called Pop Culture Kaboom. In fact, his segment went from 20 minutes to 40 minutes now. Tony, go ahead and tell us about it.
Yeah, definitely. So I do a thing with our buddy Jimmy, as Christian said. You can find us on 95.1 FM KNVC, Carson City Local Community Radio. If you're in the northern Nevada area, not in Carson City, no big deal. You can join us on knvc.org. The show will be 7 p.m. Pacific time, so wherever you're at, just judge it. Just know it's 7 p.m. Pacific to 9 p.m. Jimmy talks about everything pop culture, everything you want, everything you need. Jimmy has the pop culture things for you. I join him for the movie reviews. We take some of the world's most hideous trailers, and then we do our best review based off the trailer to kind of give you a heads up. Now, I warn you, they literally are the crappiest trailers you could think of. Every once in a while, we get a big movie. And sometimes you get movies you never thought you'd go see. Like we'll talk about a little bit later, the Vince Vaughn movie Freaky. Actually came across it based off Pop Culture Kaboom. So that was cool. But otherwise, yeah, you can tune in. We also talk The Mandalorian. We have about a 15 minute dedication to The Mandalorian where we spoiler. So if you haven't watched The Mandalorian for that particular week, you might not want to watch that portion of the segment until you've seen it, only because we don't care about spoilers. We figure at that point, if you're going to listen, you already know, and you should probably just be aware. But I digress. 95.1 FM KNVC, Carson City Community Radio. You can find us at knvc.org. Follow Pop Culture Kaboom on Facebook. Like, subscribe, and get everything you want, everything you need. Jimmy Jones will clog your feed with good stuff.
KNVC.
That's good. And I don't even have a script. I have a little hint, a little just reminder so I don't screw up too much of that, but the spiel is pretty etched in my head at this point.
Yeah, I think you've got it down at this point. Now, our final shameless plug is something that Tony and I do on a daily basis. If you didn't get enough of us through the Proton Pack, well, we do a daily variety show called the Christian Phoenix Radio Show. We've got different reoccurring bits, different daily bits. We talk a little pop culture, but for the most part, we're just having fun. We call it your daily dose of laughs and levity, and it is on Phoenix Media, the future of broadcasting. If you want to check out the Christian Phoenix Radio Show every weekday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you can head over to phoenixmedia.us/Christian Phoenix Radio Show, or head over to Facebook, as we like to say on facebook.com/Christian Phoenix Radio. That's Christian with a K, Phoenix with an F, radio, of course, with an R. And we have a blast every morning putting that show together for you guys. And of course, it is steadily growing, and we love the interaction.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun to do Monday through Friday. Now, this week, obviously, with it being the holiday week, we took the rest of the week off because I kind of messed the program up yesterday. I overslept. I've been doing these overnights, so Kris just said, let's just take a break for the week, and we'll start fresh next week, which is A-okay with all the overnights I've been having. So this is why you get a Proton Pack in the middle of the week randomly, because we've had no time. So
exactly.
We'll squeeze this in, so it's a good thing. But yeah, check out Christian Phoenix Radio Show. A lot of fun. And participate. You can get Phoenix fan gear. Leave a voicemail on the Phoenix line. We'll read it out on the air, and you can participate. Whereas Proton Pack's not so much a fan participation show while we're recording, unless we're doing a live one, then we encourage it. But typically we tape our show and air it, so when you're watching it, we're not really there to respond to you till later. So
yeah,
but good support if you'd like to do that. Christian Phoenix Media is definitely growing, and it's awesome. So while we're stretched the shameless plugs for a sec, what other shows you got lined up?
Boy, we've
Phoenix
got
Media.
Yeah, we've got some great shows. We just signed on a new show called Wine Time. They're winemakers out of Southern California. We've got About Town Deb presents City Talk. She's based here in Northern Nevada, works and broadcasts live from different local businesses. We have Be Kind Rewind with our friend Tim Nidell, talking all things
guys,
nostalgia.
Love Tim. Hey, Tim. Hey, great show, by the way. I like Be Kind Rewind. I've gotten to listen to a few of the episodes. Very good show.
Oh, I love it. And then we've got Phoenix Rising, where we do a rock spotlight on one up-and-coming rock band, play a little bit of their music, interview the band members, and we've got a number of things that are on the horizon, but not quite ready to talk about those yet. So by all means, check it out. PhoenixMedia.us is where you do that. That's FENIX media.us.
Good tunes, too, if you're hard rocking, like classic rock, metal. Like when there's not a show on, there's some good tunes playing.
Exactly. Yeah, we supplement everything with hard rock blocks, classic rock blocks, alternative rock blocks, and then, of course, from 9 to midnight, we do metal till midnight. So well worth the listen. But, Tony, I think that's probably enough of our shameless plugs.
We totally shameless. We hoard ourselves out for quite a bit. I guess it's time to get on with the Proton Pack, eh?
It is. And let's kick things off the way we do every episode, talking TV news.
Bazinga!
The cream of the crop!
Thanks, baby.
Let's go, Bob.
Excellent.
Oh, excellent indeed.
It is. Now, with our first part, and we alluded to it a little bit at the top of the show, we're talking about a huge comeback reboot series coming to HBO Max and Cartoon Network. They're tiny, they're toony, they're just a little loony. Yes, Tiny Toons is coming back to TV. If the impending return of Animaniacs on Hulu isn't enough to quench your 90s cartoon nostalgia, maybe the Tiny Toons can help. The beloved animated series is also due for a comeback in the form of Tiny Toons Looniversity. Warner Brothers press release teases they're tiny, they're toony, they're back for a rebooty. Oh,
I don't know why that played the end of it, but there you go.
all right. So Looniversity appears to be a reboot of the original Tiny Toon Adventures rather than a continuation, not that that series was ever very plot heavy. Tiny Toon Adventures originally ran from 1990 to 1992 and chronicled the misadventures of a new generation of Toon students studying under the classic Looney Tunes cast. It later became a mainstay of the Kids WB animation block alongside Animaniacs, Batman Beyond, and other 90s favorites. The original series was also notable for being the first collaboration between Warner Brothers Animation and Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment, and Spielberg will return to executive produce Looniversity. Sam Register, president of Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios, and Amblin Television co-presidents Justin Falvey and Daryl Frank are also serving as executive producers. Aaron Nash of the Throwing Shade podcast fame is serving as showrunner, and she and Nate Cash from Adventure Time are co-executive producers on the series. For many kids, Tiny Toons was their introduction to the world of Looney Tunes, and over time, Buster, Babs, Plucky, and all the characters grew to be just as beloved by an entirely new generation. The continuation of our great creative partnership with Amblin Television will bring these characters back for fans of all ages to enjoy. Tony, are you looking forward to Tiny Toons Looniversity?
I would definitely watch it, yeah. The only one I know that's not coming back just due to the world we live in is Elmira, which I never found her to be that offensive. I think it's just because of Elmer Fudd and the tie to, because it was like every character you thought was the kid. Like, at least when I was a kid, I always thought it was their kid or nephew or they were related. Like, you always knew like Plucky was associated with Daffy and Buster was Bugs and Babs was Honey Bunny or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever Bugs' girlfriend was, which he didn't really have one for a long time except for the Space Jam, if I can remember right.
Yeah, I think that's where they introduced her. But
yeah, because he had her and obviously he had Dizzy Devil, which is Taz.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like Dizzy. He was the little purple one, and he had crazy eyes and the little spinny hat. And Hamilton J. Pig he stuttered just a little bit like Porky did, and you know, I love that sound bite.
I do too.
I do. But yeah, no, I'm willing to watch it. I was just asking before we jumped on the air if you had seen the Animaniacs reboot, and you had not either. So
I haven't yet. My boys have seen it. They really enjoyed it. In fact, to get ready, they started watching some of the old episodes, and they said they actually like this new one better. So, I think it'll be good. I do have issues with the fact that Elmira is not showing up just because... Tony, I know you watched a little bit of the Looney Tunes on HBO Max, and they've even dumbed down Elmer Fudd. He's not allowed to have a gun anymore, but he can still have an axe and a knife and dynamite, and it's stupid.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. He's going wabbit hunting. And Elmira never did. All she did was, I'm going to love him, squeeze him. And all she did was used to just hug the crap out of the pets, and they were afraid of her.
Yeah, she was a psychopath in training. She was, one of those. You always say, out in the world, if your kid is torturing animals, they're probably a psychopath. Well, she was the psychopath. I can see.
She's a stage 11 clinger too.
Right.
Woof.
But in any case, Tiny Toon Tiny Toons Looniversity is coming back, so check it out when it comes out on HBO Max and Cartoon Network. And Tony and I will watch Animaniacs and report back to you what we think of that.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Now, moving on from Warner Brothers nostalgic cartoons.
You better Warner Brother.
Over to...
Let's get dangerous.
Yeah, if you can't figure it out, we're talking Darkwing Duck. Over at Disney, well, Darkwing Duck reboot is in the works from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. As you mentioned, let's get dangerous. That familiar catchphrase from the popular 90s animated series Darkwing Duck is set to make a comeback. It has been announced that Disney Plus is in early development on a reboot that will be executive produced by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. James Weaver and Alex McAtee of Great Point Pictures will also be on board as executive producers, with McAtee overseeing the project for the company. Should the project go to series, it would be the latest Disney Plus take on a well-known property. The streamer already houses High School Musical, the series.
I hate that name.
It is ridiculous, which is based on, obviously, High School Musical, film franchise, and they're preparing a female-led reboot of Doogie Howser, MD, as well as a sequel series to the film Willow. Now, Darkwing Duck originally ran from 1991 to 1992 and produced a total of 91 episodes. The show features the adventures of Darkwing Duck, who is the superheroic alter ego of ordinary suburban duck Drake Mallard. Darkwing Duck is assisted in his crime fighting by his sidekick and pilot, Launchpad McQuack, and is also sometimes assisted by his adopted daughter, Goslin. The show featured the voices of Jim Cummings as Darkwing Duck, Christine Cavanaugh as Goslin, and Terry McGovern as Launchpad. The show also has connections to fellow Disney animated series DuckTales, with Launchpad appearing in both the original DuckTales and the recent reboot. Most recently, Darkwing and Goslin appeared in the rebooted show as well. In that version, Darkwing is a fictional character from an old superhero TV series. In Season 2, Mallard, the president of the Darkwing Duck fan club, gets the chance to become Darkwing in real life and begins fighting crime, and then Goslin was introduced in Season 3. I enjoyed the hell out of the DuckTales reboot. I hope this is along the same lines and that maybe they have a little crossover as well. But who knows with Seth Rogen behind it. But the fact that he is behind it, we know that he tends to treat those properties pretty well, and that he's working on a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie as well. So,
yeah, as long as he's not voicing any of the characters, I'm fine.
Right.
Like, his voice is just okay. It's the same. But I think that's good, man. Especially like you said, if you keep it in the realm of the recent the art style of the DuckTales reboot, it's gonna be solid. Plus, with the crossover, I mean, you might as well. You already have introduced fans. You could totally branch on and do a spinoff. Yeah. Just like they did in the original DuckTales. Yeah. Sometimes people are smart. You just pull from the old well. You're like, you know what we've done before and it was successful? Let's do that again. And it seems to work. Nostalgia is a hell of a thing.
Well, and the thing is, anything that's rebooted nowadays, for the most part, it's treated with love and respect because the people rebooting it are pretty much our age. They're the ones who grew up with them as kids and then have adapted them to be more adult-oriented, overarching story lines, you know, things that grip us and grip our kids at the same time, which is really what I enjoy about the DuckTales series.
No, that's good. It actually just gave me a radio topic for the Phoenix show. If you could reboot any show, what would it be?
Ooh, I like it.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah,
good interaction that like where we could give the viewers. So if you guys are watching the Proton Pack, I mean, obviously comment and let us know what you would reboot, and then we'll use it for a future Phoenix show.
There we go. Yeah, we'll have to write it down, remember it, because we do have a lot of show ahead of us, so I don't want to forget that one. It is so good. But let's go ahead and move on from Disney over to the CW. Tony, do you get a chance to watch many of the CW Arrowverse shows?
I've seen a couple of them. I've not followed a ton. Like, I've seen an episode of The Flash or two, but I haven't followed it in order. Same with Green Arrow, and I've seen a Supergirl. So yeah, I would say I've seen a few here and there, but don't really follow it as far as the storylines go.
They do a great job with them. You know, I used to watch religiously when it was Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow. But now there's so many more, it's hard to keep up. Well, they're adding one more. Super producer Greg Berlanti's Arrowverse on the CW is slated to grow a little larger, as Deadline has reported that the network is now developing a Wonder Girl TV series to join the ranks of Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash, Supergirl, Black Lightning, and the upcoming Superman and Lois. Daylin Rodriguez from Queen of the South will be heading up the project, which she will executive produce alongside Greg Berlanti, Sarah Schechter, and David Madden. The Wonder Girl in question is Yara Flor,
Yara,
quoted as a Latina dreamer who is born of an Amazonian warrior and a Brazilian river god, learns that she is Wonder Girl, and with her newfound power must fight the evil forces that would seek to destroy the world. Deadline also noted that this will mark the first Latina superhero title character of a DC TV series. Tony, is it something you're going to check out, or is it just another one that's it's just too much?
Just another one. I mean, if I was hardcore about all the others, I might be into it, but no, because we talked about Batwoman for a long time, like how cool that'd be, and I never watched it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they're great shows, and I bet it's going to do very well, and it's going to draw a good audience. I love that they're incorporating another female strong lead into it. So, yeah, if you're building your DC TV universe, this is a great signing for the Berlanti family down at Arrowverse. But for me, I'm good. There's so much. I don't have time.
Yeah, it's too much to keep track of, and in reality, I mean, we've got great Marvel shows that are coming. We do have some DC HBO Max shows that, like, I still have to get caught up on Titans. It's on HBO Max now, and I haven't watched a single episode yet. So while it is a awesome thing to see more comic book characters on the small screen, it's going to be tough to keep up with it. But you know what? It will find an audience, and I have no doubt that it'll do well.
Oh, it's definitely going to find a good following as far as fan base, and you're going to have the fans they'll show up and watch it. It'll do really well.
Yeah.
And they got a winning formula over there at the CW with the whole Arrowverse. Like, even though Arrow's over, they're still really able to tie that. And then where they're going with the Flashpoint movie, how it's all going to tie, that's really going to be cool.
Yeah, they did a great job of trying to figure out how to take the different properties that really sort of scattered the DC extended universe and bring them all together with the multiverse that they're going to be doing here based on the Flashpoint movie. But you know what? Might be still worth checking out. Moving on from DC over to Netflix. Tony, get that button ready. Stranger Things Season 4 has expanded its cast with 8 new actors. Netflix has announced that Jamie Campbell Bower from Sweeney Todd, Eduardo Franco from Booksmart, and Joseph Quinn from Catherine the Great have joined the cast of Stranger Things as series regulars, together with horror icon Robert Englund, as we know.
What's with kids today, huh? No respect.
Yep. Freddie himself is joining Stranger Things Season 4. He's boarded the series in a recurring role alongside Tom Walasha, Sherman Augustus, Mason Dye, and Nicola Jericho. To accompany the announcement, the streamer shared a few interesting character details about the new additions, some which were teased last year. Really, just to get to the main thing, I'm looking through, don't really care about much anybody else aside from Robert Englund.
Right.
Says, joining the cast in a recurring role, Englund, who is best known playing Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, will take on another creepy character as Victor Creel, a disturbed and intimidating man who is imprisoned in a psychiatric hospital for a gruesome murder in the 1950s. If I didn't love Stranger Things enough, this just adds one more element that will make me love it even more.
Yeah, having Robert Englund in it, and then the dude, is it the Duffer Brothers or Doofer Brothers? Duffer Brothers. So with the Duffer Brothers, they put together such a good cast, and they typically stick with relatively unknown, with the exception of Winona Ryder. That was a bigger name star, but man, to get Robert Englund in this is awesome.
Yeah, and they do a great job with the 80s nostalgia, and I mean, you couldn't get even any more 80s nostalgia when it comes to sort of the horror side of things than Robert Englund.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward. It's totally stereotypical for the 80s, but it's awesome. The Eddie Munson character, the audacious 80s metalhead. He's going to run Hawk and High's official Dungeons and Dragons club.
That's cool.
I think that's kind of funny because that was typically the thing. If you liked heavy metal or hard rock back in the day, you were pretty much a nerd.
Yeah.
Or dirthead outcast, you know?
Yeah, now it's nerdy is cool.
Nerdy is cool now, dude. Yeah, since we're in the 80s, it's rad. It's rad. Totally rad, man.
It is rad. Well, let's move on from Stranger Things. You were talking Mandalorian a little bit earlier, and coming out of the Disney camp, Boba Fett miniseries is rumored to be in development for Disney Plus. We're 3 episodes deep at this point into the second season of The Mandalorian, but we're already...
I like those odds.
I like those odds too. There are already plenty of rumblings out there about the 3rd season of the series, as well as other potential Star Wars TV shows. All these tidbits have led to a bit of confusion, but as this is Star Wars we're talking about, you can bet that people are dissecting every little piece. Although The Mandalorian hasn't officially been renewed for a 3rd season just yet, it will be. Series creator Jon Favreau has been developing the new season since early this year, but there have been conflicting reports as to when that new season will start shooting. Some have pointed to production kicking off as early as next week, while others saying it won't get underway until next year. But Deadline has heard that it won't be The Mandalorian shooting first, but rather a Boba Fett miniseries. Let's let that sink in. The final moments of the Season 2 premiere included an appearance from Tamora Morrison as Boba Fett. At least that's who we're meant to assume he is. It's probably a pretty safe bet, as Mando is now in the possession of Boba Fett's armor, which was given to him by Cobb Vanth, played by Timothy Olyphant. It's only a matter of time before the 2 characters face off. The possibility of a Mandalorian spin-off series was teased by then CEO Bob Iger earlier this year, who said, "The possibility of infusing The Mandalorian with more characters and the possibility of taking those characters in their own direction in terms of the series." Tony, what do you think about the rumor? Is it something you'd watch, another Mandalorian type series? Obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah. Give me anything Star Wars. There's right now, Mandalorian is just killing the game. I mean, I've been having conversations with you, Jimmy, Stacy, numerous other people at work, and we've been talking Mandalorian and how this show is just so much better than the most recent trilogy, because I don't mean to crap on the trilogy. I'm not saying it didn't have good moments and good characters, but the way they had different visions for each movie to try to connect, but you had different directors and different writers for each movie. You just really one-upped one person to undo the other, and it was a nightmare. Where Mandalorian's telling such a good story. Hell, this last week's episode of The Mandalorian in 5 minutes explained a better explanation of what Snoke was than 2 damn movies explained who the hell he was.
It did, yeah. I mean, I think Jon Favreau...
5 minutes! 5 minutes is all it took.
Jon Favreau has his finger on the pulse of what the Star Wars fans want. He gives you expanded little-known characters. Obviously, we saw a glimpse of Boba Fett. And this last episode was by far the best Mandalorian episode so far. You got speeder chases. Topped,
in my opinion, what was already like the one before that was the best one. Yeah. So it won up that. It's been good, man. This Carl Weathers directed this week's. Bryce Dallas Howard did last week's. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to another Taika Waititi episode. He does good with that too.
Now, my favorite new character from this last week's episode was Jeans Guy. He's just I can't wait to get his Kenner action figure.
It sucks that now they're a part like Game of Thrones Starbucks coffee cup that made the shot.
Yep.
Well, this last week, the guy, one of the camera production guys, unfortunately got spotted, and he tried to run off the screen, and he's in his jeans and
he's wearing his watch, but
he made the show.
It's
whoa.
And I have no
I
have no doubt that Disney will probably go back and digitally edit him out. But luckily for us, we caught it, and so funny. And of course, the memes coming out of it. The fake Kenner action figure. It is hilarious, folks. If you haven't checked it out and you are a fan of The Mandalorian, just go to Google, type in Jeans Guy Mandalorian action figure. You'll get everything you need there.
Man, it's great stuff.
It's hilarious. All right, and let's move on to our final story in TV
We had a lot of
news.
TV. We had good TV this week.
We did, and a lot of geeky, nerdy TV, which is even better. Now, we were talking, there is so many superhero television series out there. Well, there's one more that we're looking forward to, obviously. It's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Oscar Isaac has been cast as Moon Knight in his own upcoming TV series. Of course, we're going to be getting a She-Hulk and a Miss Marvel. But Oscar Isaac has reportedly been cast for the lead of Marvel's upcoming Disney Plus series, Moon Knight. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is once again attempting to make the transition to television through a slew of shows on Disney Plus, all of which have ties to the movies. The first batch of shows center on pre-established MCU characters like Bucky Barnes and Wanda Maximoff, but Marvel boss Kevin Feige announced at D23 last year that there will also be 3 projects that will introduce new characters to the franchise. Moon Knight, just like She-Hulk and Miss Marvel, will center on one of those new characters. Ever since the shows were announced, fans have been eagerly speculating about who will be cast in the lead roles, particularly since they all expected them to appear in the films. Tatiana Maslany was first announced to be She-Hulk, while newcomer Iman Vellani will play Miss Marvel. Following those two, all that was left was Moon Knight's leading man. Now, Deadline has reported that Oscar Isaac is in negotiation to star in Moon Knight as Mark Spector, a mercenary with numerous alter egos who later becomes a conduit for the Egyptian god Khonsu. Marvel had no comment on Isaac's casting. A production start date hasn't been set, as the studio is looking for a director. Jeremy Slater from the Umbrella Academy is still attached as the head writer. What do you think of this casting news, Tony? Oscar Isaac, great actor. Moon Knight, relatively unknown.
Poe Dameron from the new trilogy, one of the best characters from it. And I think he's going to be great, man. Guy's got comic book. I like that he's done geeky movies and stuff, too.
Yeah.
Like he was Apocalypse. And then obviously he's been in Star Wars. And this will give us a chance to see Moon Knight, which is basically Marvel's version of Batman without it being about a bat, but it's pretty similar characteristics. So I'm glad it's just going to be a TV show versus a movie, because now we'll actually get that character development. Something we got back in the day on Netflix with like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. While you knew of these characters, you know, being a comic book person, you knew they existed, but to give them the proper story. And nowadays with TV shows, they're so great because you get an hour long to tell a story and you can have multiple episodes. So you're getting so many like mini movies versus just 1 2-hour movie to tell an entire story. And there you go.
And the fact that they are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe means that they may appear in upcoming Avengers movies or any other Marvel movies that, aren't previously announced. But it's always fun to see new characters popping up. And this is really where I want to turn my attention when it comes to comic book TV, just in the way that they're making it all work together.
Yeah, to me, this is something I'm very excited to see, and I look forward to it. I can't wait. I know we have to wait till January to get our very first MCU TV with WandaVision. We thought we were going to get it next month, but unfortunately, it's pushed away. So we're like 2 months away. So that'll be kind of nice because we'll finish up Mandalorian right around your birthday, mid-month next month. And then you go a couple weeks with no new shows. And then January 2021 rolls. Hopefully everyone has a better year. And then we get the new Marvel. I am hoping like before then, I really hope they put Black Widow out. I hope it's like a Christmas surprise, like on Disney Plus.
I hope so too. But they've got a plan. They're moving things around. Obviously, they've moved the Eternals, but with the TV series, we're getting WandaVision, we're getting Falcon and Winter Soldier after that, we're getting Loki from there, and then obviously these new characters after that. Looking forward to it, but you know what? That does it for TV news. Tony, let's go ahead and move on to our Blu-ray releases. I forget, do we have a soundbite for Blu-ray releases?
Sure, like this and box office. We'll just roll into that. That's basically what we would enter before box office report, which we're going to do right after. So we might as well use that.
I'm good with it. Blu-ray releases, obviously, there haven't been a lot of new movies out, so not a lot of new Blu-ray releases. In fact, most of these are rather old, but coming out today, and we're going to drop this video.
Today is a great day. Dee.
We are going to drop this today. We're going to put it out on podcast today. But you have The Irishman, the Criterion Collection. I don't know if that movie's old enough to be considered for the Criterion Collection.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it just came out on demand this year, didn't it?
Yeah, it was on Netflix, and I mean, less than a year
I just
ago.
heard it was really long. I didn't even watch it.
I haven't seen it yet either. I plan to. I love The Departed. Obviously, it's a Martin Scorsese movie, but I think it's like 4 hours long, and I don't know if I can hang in there for that.
I don't think I can. I don't think the attention span's there for me, man. I don't even know if I have 4 hours to give that.
Also out on Blu-ray, Tony, did you ever watch Train to Busan?
No, but it looks awesome. It's the Japanese zombie flick, and this is the second one. This one picks up literally right where the first one, or the one you're about to announce, this one's going to pick up exactly the moment the first one ended. It picks up right there.
Really? Yeah, I got to watch the original. Again, sounds awesome. I'm not so keen on having to read my movies, but every once in a while it's worth it.
It's gotten hella good reviews. They're going to do a third one and make it a trilogy. So.
Very cool. Well, what we're talking about here and released on Blu-ray today is Train to Busan Presents Peninsula.
The second.
Yeah, which is the follow-up. So I'll have to watch the first one first, and then maybe
Yeah.
on
Have you
demand
watched the
this one.
trailer?
I haven't yet.
You should watch the trailer. It's one of them. It's one of those movies I discovered doing pop culture. So some of these movies I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that on pop culture.
Very cool. The final new movie released on Blu-ray is a movie called Ava. I saw it pop up on demand as well, and it stars Jessica Chastain. I don't know much about it, but I think she's sort of a spy character along the lines of like a Black Widow, and obviously gets caught into something. It might be one worth checking out either on demand on Blu-ray or when it comes out on one of the
Because
streaming
you got
services.
a pretty good all-star cast in there. I mean, you click it and it takes you to Josie and the Pussycats, which that's not good for purchase.
That's really strange.
Because did you click on it?
I haven't clicked on it. I'm
you
afraid
should click
to.
on it, see if you get Josie and the Pussycats. I was going to do it to read a synopsis, but
Sure enough.
takes me to Josie and the Pussycats. Well, Ava, starring Jessica Chastain, it looks like Colin Farrell, and if I'm squinting,
DMX?
I don't know who the other two are, because the picture's like this small.
Looks like DMX.
It does. And like from this angle, this far, it looks like Dave Bautista. Until I get closer, I'm like, no, it's not Bautista.
And then you get a 4K release of Mad Max. Obviously, that was the original apocalyptic action film.
It's amazing how they could take these really old movies and say 4K. Well, they weren't shot in 4K.
Right.
I'll tell you that much.
And they don't look great in 4K. I mean, they look better, obviously, than they did when they came out on VHS. But, yeah, I think
Blu-ray is about as high as you get with these older movies.
Yeah, it's hard to get much better than that.
Yeah. I will say I sampled, I got Back to the Future on 4K, the anniversary, on a Black Friday sale, and I sampled it just to see if it looked good, and it is pretty damn crisp for a movie from the 80s. They do a good job, and if you have good surround sound, you hear a lot of different things you normally wouldn't hear, like right before the Save the Clock Tower scene, before she puts that gets in his face. You can hear her, like while Jen and Marty are talking, you can hear her in the background jingling his can, and she's like, save the clock tower, save the clock tower. Cool. And then you start to hear the Huey Lewis's Power of Love kick on while they're still having dialogue, but it's slow build, and it's just something you normally don't hear. So sounds are a little more detailed than it is. The picture's a little crisper.
That's cool. It sounds like they remastered it for like a 7.1 surround sound.
Yeah, because I caught more sounds. I'm like, wait, I've never heard that before. And I've seen this movie a bunch of times. Right. So for me I'm like, wait, that's different. So it's kind of cool. A little different experience there.
Very cool. And then finally in Blu-ray releases, if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, actually the spinoff, Better Call Saul, they just released the entire season 5 on Blu-ray. So you can check that out if you still like the home release versions of these of the shows.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the box office report. Obviously, Tony already played the song, but...
Box office report, where we're dying slowly. Box office report.
Toasty!
Yeah, unfortunately, it is difficult to have a box office report when there's not a lot of new movies out. Of course, we did go see the #1 movie, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, but, it hasn't been great news. And, if you have the ability, if you're feeling good, if you're not worried about either catching or spreading the dreaded coronavirus, then by all means, support the theaters. Go see a movie. They're doing a great job of keeping people distance. And, there's nothing like seeing a movie in the theaters. Well, #1 in the theaters for a second week in a row was the Blumhouse horror comedy Freaky, starring Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton. Brought in $1.2 million for a 10-day domestic total of $5.6 million. And we'll talk about that in just a second.
Hey, and that's the #1 movie 2 weeks in a row, baby.
It is. #2, unfortunately, hanging in there is the Robert De Niro PG-13 War with Grandpa. Made $733,000 for a total of $16.1.
It's making some money, man, for it being an old movie that sat on the shelf. It has made some dough just cycling.
Hey, it was smart of them. If they had released it and movie theaters were booming right now, I doubt it would have made this much.
It would be around. And not at $733,000. Hell no.
No. In third place was the R-rated Kevin Costner, Diane Lane drama Let Him Go. Again, I don't know
Let
much
Him
about
Go. And you know what? Let Him Go is now on demand. I saw it on Vudu last night.
Nice.
You can rent it. You can rent it for I think it's $15. You can rent it.
All right. Hey. If you're a Kevin Costner fan, it might be worth checking out. In fourth place was the supernatural thriller Come Play with
Come play with me on your iPads.
$550,000. In fifth place was a movie that, I might go see if it's still in theaters this upcoming weekend, The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. I love that movie. It's such a great holiday movie. Brought in $461,000, but I have a feeling it'll probably be gone. The good news is I've got it on Disney Plus. I can watch it anytime I want.
Yeah, I like how they dusted that off and they're like $145.3 million. It just kind of pads their domestic box office numbers.
In sixth place was Taken 7. Honest Thief with $452,000.
I gotta tell you a story. I love you. I robbed a bank. I'm going to tell you where it is. And then you're going to die. And then I'm going to go on a mission because they're going to take you. And I swear to God, I'm going to hunt down every son of a bitch. I'm going to take them down. This is Liam Neeson.
And I've got a particular set of skills.
Taken 8 coming next year.
In the seventh place is a new movie to theaters, a Jackie Chan action movie called Vanguard. Made $400,000.
Vanguard 1. It actually doesn't look bad. We covered that on the Pop Culture Kaboom. He's still doing his own stunts, man. There's a scene where they threw him in a cage or a zoo with the lion, and the lion's chasing him. That was real.
Huh.
You could see the fear in his face.
I'm sure.
Jackie Chan!
In eighth place is still in the hunt, Tenet. Brought in another $360,000. It's made $56.9 million domestic. Wow. It doesn't say what it's.
That does not seem like a lot. If the world didn't take a big Dumposaurus Rex this year, that thing easily would have been $200 to $300 million.
Oh yeah,
with all the screenings and showings for sure.
And it's made its money back. I did see that they're finally getting ready to release it on demand. I want to say December 15th, December 10th, something like that.
Yeah, and you know what? It was a great movie. It's confusing. I think it's better suited to watch at home, to be honest with you, because
interesting.
The first time you watch it, you're gonna go, it was good, but
what just happened?
Yeah, exactly. What happened? It's a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah,
it's a little on the weird side.
In ninth place was a new anime movie called Fate Stay Night.
It doesn't look like many people went to even bother with it, but somehow made the top 10.
Yeah, made about $200,000. And then in 10th place was the great Will Ferrell Christmas comedy Elf, made $178,000.
Santa! I know him. That's a classic. That's just an instant classic.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're ramping up our Christmas movies around here, and that's coming up soon. So we're looking forward to.
It's good. Elf was number 10 last week too, right? No, Elf was not. Yeah, it was. It was number 10. So back to back number 10s.
Right on. Well, folks, that does it for the box office report. Before we get to the movie news, of course, Tony and I both went and saw the number 1 movie, which was Freaky, starring Vince Vaughn, and was actually directed by Christopher Landon, who is most well known for Happy Death Day, Happy Death Day to You.
Great movies.
Sort of horror comedy spins on movie tropes that we all know. Happy Death Day was a take on the Groundhog Day, living the same day over and over. Whereas Freaky, and actually it makes sense why they released it on Friday the 13th, because they could have called it Freaky Friday the 13th, was a body switching horror comedy. And you know what? I had a lot of fun at the movie theaters. You know, it's one of those things that, you want to go, you want to see with other people. You want those thrills, you want those scares. It is R-rated, so you get some really gruesome but funny horror moments. And you know what? Vince Vaughn as a teenage girl, I'd watch that again. Tony, what did you think of Freaky?
Oh, okay. So that movie, I went in, it was really cool. Saw it on Friday night. I expected some people to be in the theater. I always look forward to some like slasher films or scary movies in theaters because I like to see people jump to see what freaks them out.
Right.
Like that makes the theater experience fun. However, I was the only one on a Friday night in my local Cinemark.
No kidding. Huh?
And so that was a little weird, but I digress. Good movie. At first I felt like I was watching a Friday the 13th flick to a T. He had a really terrible mask over, like it wasn't a hockey mask, but yet it was a mask that just like hockey. And then you had a real big stocky, and of course, typical cheesy girls running, and he's just right there. And they even played kind of a riff of the. They like had its own little nod to that, but it wasn't quite the same sound. And the death scenes were just in the beginning too. Of course, you had underage kids, drinking, having sex, a la Friday the 13th. And I like the cheese factor too, like when they get done boning and then all of a sudden he takes the tennis racket stuff
right
right in the head, and then all of a sudden she's like, ah, and then it says Friday the 13th, and it just flashes on the screen. So it had good ties to it. And then of course, Vince Vaughn is a big stocky killer at first. Very like you could definitely pull off that role.
Yeah.
Because he's so big. And then when he's chasing you, you're like, oh, poop, you
can say shit.
Coming to get you. I know you can say it. I try not to. Whenever we do broadcast, I try not to do it ever. But yeah, when he turns into the girl and then it turns in, the only awkward scene I'd say for me in the movie was, even though he was portraying the girl and the guy was confessing his love to the girl, but it was played by Vince, and they were cuddling, like knowing how old Vince Vaughn is, how young this boy is, and they're cuddling. It was a little weird. I mean, you have to really separate your reality to that, because obviously they're just acting. She's the girl.
Right.
But nonetheless, great movie, funny. I would say the best way to sum this up was Friday the 13th plus Freaky Friday plus the hot chick with humor elements of Scream and Happy Death Day, and you got yourself Freaky.
Yeah.
It was just a fun movie. I can't say enough good things. I gave it 4 out of 5 on my horrible reviews page. I would recommend this. This was a great flick. I would definitely watch it again. My only regret is I didn't have a date, because this would have been a fun date movie.
It is a good
Absolutely
date movie.
Fun.
Now, to be fair, we brought Jesse's dad along to see it as well. So there were a few scenes in there that were a little like cringeworthy, having her dad.
Oh, well, yeah, when the guy and the girl over the car in the beginning. Yeah, a little awkward. Or, one thing too, I like the appearance of, I don't know his name. You'll know his name when I drop it. But Cam from Ferris Bueller, when he's the woodshop teacher.
That was
cool to see him, man. And you just knew he was going to be meeting a nasty death. And boy, howdy.
And of course,
that was a gruesome ass death scene in that.
That was the moment I had to get up and go to the bathroom. So I missed that death scene. I knew it was coming, but I was hoping I'd get back in time.
Oh my gosh. It was, if you can YouTube it, man. That thing was woodshop class. I'm glad I'm not a teenage kid or a junior high kid, man, because I couldn't look at woodshop class quite the same anymore. That was pretty gruesome.
Well, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 as well. It's just a fun movie. Don't go in with expectations of it being Academy Award winning. Just go in for a fun ride, and that's what you get with Freaky.
It's like an In-N-Out burger. It's not the greatest burger in the world, but it's damn good, and it satisfies. And this is what that movie is. It's damn good, and it satisfies.
Yeah. It's the Snickers of movies. Well, that does it for our review of Freaky. Tony, get that button ready because we are headed into movie
It's time
news.
to do the movies.
Are you the keymaster?
Wrap it up, fuzzball.
We came, we saw, we kicked his ass.
This baby hits 88 miles per hour. They're gonna see some serious shit.
Oh, Christopher Lloyd, you potty mouth.
Do you have to stretch your legs there, Tone?
Yeah, well, and I'm out of water, so got to keep the wet dot whistle there, So maybe by the next Proton Pack, I won't have all this Grizzly Adams stuff going on.
Hey, I think it works for you.
Trying to be like my buddy Chris. I can't. It takes him 5 seconds. It takes me 5 years.
Pop. Yeah. But in any case, we were talking about movie theaters and, of course, movies being moved around. Well, with the exception of Christopher Nolan's Tenet, theaters have been devoid of blockbusters since mid-March, and one by one studios have pushed their remaining films into 2021 and beyond. But there are a few stragglers who are stubbornly hanging on. Well, 2 of the very few films currently on the 2020 slate have jumped ship as it's been announced that Free Guy, the Ryan Reynolds movie, and Death on the Nile, starring Wonder Woman Gal Gadot, have been removed from the calendar. Free Guy was slated to hit theaters on December 11th, 2020, followed by Death on the Nile on December 18th, 2020. But both of the 20th Century Studios films have been delayed by Disney, who now owns the studio. It remains to be seen when the films will now be released, as Disney hasn't given a new release date just yet. So obviously stay tuned. This leaves Wonder Woman 1984 as the biggest film still currently slated to hit theaters this year, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I would imagine that it wouldn't be long before we hear that Warner Brothers has pushed that film back again. Obviously, this is a little bit older story because we're going to talk about that in just a minute. I'm looking forward to Free Guy. That's one of those movies that I think Disney might just be best putting out on Disney Plus or Hulu or one of those and skipping the theaters altogether. It would be fun, but we have no idea how long this is going to continue on. And then Death on the Nile, again, not a movie that's really meant for the big screens. The previous movie, which was Murder on the Orient Express, was a fun movie, an all-star cast. This one has an all-star cast as well. But you know what? It might be okay to push to the streaming services as well. Your thoughts, Tony?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to spoil what we're going to talk about in a minute, but I think you got 2 heavy hitters here that are going to do well. What I would do as a studio exec is I would put one out in January. It's just kind of like Freaky. Mm-hmm. You get a little bit, but I'd also multitask. I would release one here. I'd give it its little limited run because they do have a contract. And then I put it on your streaming service and try to double your funds there, But I agree with you. Or if you just want to roll out, I know Disney's big focus is their streaming service nowadays. And like you said, we don't know how long this is going to go. And they constantly are putting new projects out. They're filming, they're putting things together as we speak. So there's going to be this, you got everything from this year that didn't see the light of day. So that'll come out next year. Everything that's supposed to come out next year so everything's pushed back a year, but you got plenty in the canon. So, you might as well release it either on demand or just do a limited run in theaters. Just keep the theaters afloat. I'd at least throw them a bone one a month. It's that, especially if it's my studio and I don't want to compete against myself. And I'd put one out there. Why not?
Well, especially with Free Guy. Ryan Reynolds is probably one of the biggest box office draws right now. And if anybody's going to get people to actually go to the theaters, even if it is less so than what we're used to, it would be Ryan Reynolds.
I still would have kept that a Christmas release one.
Yeah.
even though you got some other movies coming out that day, I'd still stand pat and put out for that holiday weekend and get some viewers. I'm really shocked that this Thanksgiving weekend, the only one coming out is The Croods, and kudos to them. I'm proud of them for putting out a family movie. I hope it gets people out. Hopefully you're not in a city or state that just went back to a code red. We are here in Colorado.
Yep.
We're code red. Everything shuts down at 5:00 tonight, except Costco will be open for you. But other than that, yeah, I think it's, I want to see both. So either way you want to put it out, I'm in.
I agree. And my worry is that with everything sort of piling up, that there's going to be so many movies released that, it costs a pretty penny to go to the theaters, and being able to see every movie you want to see is still going to limit box office intake. So release some of them on streaming, on demand, same day as theaters. And you know what? Let's just get back to a little bit of normalcy, if you're healthy enough to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I had a great time, even though I was the only one in theater, man. To see Freaky on there was great. I loved seeing it on the big screen. That was awesome.
Yeah, so much fun. Well, let's move on to our next story, Tony. Do you shop smart? Do you shop S-Mart?
I would shop S-Mart if I lived in Sparks, because it's just right down the street from your house.
It is. But sadly, Ash doesn't work there. After 3 Sam Raimi-directed movies, a 2-season sequel series on Starz in 2013, soft reboot directed by Fede Alvarez, the Evil Dead franchise is moving away from its rustic roots and its cabin in the woods aesthetic for a new bloody adventure that takes place in a big city building. The title, Evil Dead Rise, was revealed this past summer by Ash Williams himself, Bruce Campbell, as well as the idea that the upcoming movie will shake up the tried and tested franchise formula by deviating away from some key narrative staples such as the classic cabin in the woods setting. Director Lee Cronin expanded on the concept recently during a chat with Bloody Disgusting, saying that the film will feature a female heroine in the city, possibly in a high-rise apartment complex. He said, "I'm confident I'm going to do something that's both familiar and refreshing. I'm going to deliver a roller coaster of horror. That's what the goal is here. Relentless, not stopping to explain too much. It needs to be extremely visceral, highly entertaining, properly scary. To push boundaries, that's important as well." Tony, are you looking forward to a new Evil Dead movie that probably won't feature Ash, but will more than likely have him as a sort of a tertiary character?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I mean, at this point, Bruce Campbell's obviously a lot older, so it gets hard. You get kind of bummed out seeing your veteran, iconic characters played by now. Like what would be the same boat. Like if Michael J. Fox was to say, "Okay, we are going to do Back to the Future 4. Christopher Lloyd and I are back," it wouldn't be as good, and it's just because of their limitations now that they're older. It would just take away and diminish. I kind of felt the same with Harrison Ford as Han Solo in the reboot. I love seeing Harrison Ford in there, and I know he's Han Solo, but I didn't need an older Han Solo. I just didn't need it.
Find a good
now,
way
if
to
you're
pass...
if you're handing the baton,
exactly.
It's the passing of the guard, and you're just a side character where you're not the main focus. I think it could be done good. In a high-rise building, I think a lot of Die Hard. So I don't know what to expect of it, but you know what? If it's in the same vein and you've got this, and with Bruce Campbell behind it, you know that the love and feeling is going to go in, and Sam Raimi will have some hands in the thing, which means it's in literally good hands. So
yeah, and with the high rise, especially in the horror genre, it makes me think more of like Poltergeist 3, which was a terrible movie.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Woof.
But it can be done. Now, I'm not familiar with any of Lee Cronin's work, so visually speaking, director-wise, who knows? I'd have to look him up a little bit, but regardless, you still have...
I'm surprised you don't know Lee Cronin. I mean, because you've always got like the random people. I'm like, damn, you know this stuff?
Well, my guess is that he probably's directed some lesser-known horror movies.
He has. He's done 4 horror movies. The Hole in the Ground in 2019, Ghost Train 2013, Through the Night 2010, and Minutes Past Midnight 2016. All seem like movies that we have covered on Pop Culture Kaboom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nothing major. So I don't blame you for not knowing. He's got a writer for a couple of shorts But as far as anything big, I'm not too familiar with those. So
Well, and it's always great when an established director like Sam Raimi can take, an up-and-coming horror director like Lee Cronin under his wing and hopefully, make him the next big thing in horror. So we'll see.
I hope so. Hey, the more the merrier, as long as you're telling a good story, unlike The Witch. Woof.
Ugh, that was bad.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was. I didn't get to give one during the box office, so there you go.
There you go. All right.
Well, my vintage box office sound there.
Let's move on to our next story, something we had alluded to a couple stories ago. DC fans have something to look forward to this holiday season. Not only is Warner Brothers sticking to the film's current
Warner Brothers
December 25th release date, Wonder Woman 1984 will also debut the same day on HBO Max. Not even video on demand. The news first broke.
No shit, huh?
Yeah.
Language.
The news.
The cream of the crop.
The news first broke via a leaked trailer for the Wonder Woman sequel, and now Warner's has confirmed the news. According to their press release, Wonder Woman 84 will be available to stream on HBO Max for 1 month starting December 25th, and presumably will return to HBO Max later in 2021 after the home video release window. Warner's also confirmed the movie will be released in select international theatrical markets beginning December 16th. I'm looking forward to this. I think they hit the nail on the head. You're releasing a huge blockbuster movie on Christmas Day when people go out to see it. And you know what? If you're not comfortable going out, get your free trial of HBO Max, pay that $15 for that 1 month to go see it. It's going to be worth it. And, if you're super fans like we are, we'll probably see it in theaters and watch it at home.
Absolutely. I think this is great. This is something Christian and I talk about on the entertainment segment. It seems to come up once or twice a week leading up to this announcement on the Phoenix show. And it just makes sense. It's okay. Well, do we delay it and push it into the pits of all these other big ass movies that are just sitting there waiting? Or do we just strike? Let's just release it because it's Christmas Day. People are going to want to open presents and people are going to want to get out of the house. I tell you what, and this movie is going to do well. I hope this is the movie that kickstarts the box office. Now, I hope The Croods does really well this week, and I want The Croods to do extremely well. I have no interest in it, but I hope that it does insanely well because I want the theaters to stay alive. That's the one thing I hope that really makes it through this pandemic. I don't want to see theaters go away. They're such a great release that, I like the option. Give people the option. Yeah. People don't like to go to the theaters. Stay home. Have it on demand. That's great. But for someone like Christian and myself, we're theater people, man. It's just you can't beat that experience. It's great.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope more movies follow suit when it shows that, this is a new way, a good way to do business and make some money for not only Warner Brothers, but, for the theater chains as well.
Yeah, and what's good, too, is I didn't want to say too much because I knew this article was coming, but this is what I think Free Guy should do. This is what I think Death on the Nile should do. It should totally do same day release. So I kind of just broadly said, it should go on demand after this time. Screw the little window. Right now, while theaters are getting back on the feet, release it in a theater, release it on demand, go from there.
Leave it
because
at that.
Then that way you make your money. Because proof and point, people paid $30 to watch Mulan. That did really well. People paid to watch Trolls World Tour. People paid to watch Scoob. All these movies are now on your streaming services. You can watch these anytime now, but they got their money in the theater and it put people in there for a bit. So it is a good formula for the time being. I hope that's not the forever formula, but for now, there's a really good formula.
Well, let's move on from one DC property to another. Obviously, the news of a Justice League Snyder Cut has been huge ever since it was officially announced back during the DC Fandom. We got to see the trailer there, and, there's more news coming out day to day. It looks like it's going to be 18 hours long at this point.
Oh, boy.
I thought it was hilarious that...
Why didn't they just make this a series? Jeez
right.
Louise.
Well, they sort of are. They're releasing in multiple parts. But Zack Snyder famously said originally there were going to be no reshoots. He was just going to take the existing footage and work with that. Well, we know that's not true now because there's been reshoots galore. Well, it's safe to say that not everyone was a fan of Jared Leto's take on the Joker in David Ayer's Suicide
Except
Squad.
Lacey. Lacey loved him.
She did. She's the only one that
You
I
know
that
his.
loved
You know
it.
his laugh really should have been this.
Oh, ha ha! You
I-
It's my buddy Brett's laugh. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that was probably a little more akin to the Mark Hamill animated series laugh. But
Yeah. Ooh, I'll have to tell him that. He's not only Amadeus. I'll look up the Mark Hamill laugh and share it with him.
there you
He'll
go.
like that. He loves that Amadeus laugh. He thinks it's funny.
Well, regardless of what you thought of Jared Leto's take on that Joker, it came as quite a surprise when it was revealed last month that Leto was slated to reprise the role for the additional photography in Zack Snyder's Justice League. It remains to be seen just how the Joker will factor into Snyder's 4-hour Justice League saga, but it seems that this won't be quite the same Joker we met in Suicide Squad. While speaking with Beyond the Trailer's Grace Randolph, Zack Snyder commented on Jared Leto joining the project and teased that although the film will honor the previous incarnation of the character, he will have something of a new look. Snyder said, "It is true, I wanted to, of course, honor what had been created with him because I thought it was really cool. But also, in this, I'm not going to tell you what happens in the little scene, but some water has gone under the proverbial bridge between when we last saw Joker and this appearance. So he's a road-weary Joker. I guess that's the way of saying it. I think if anybody can right that ship, it is Zack Snyder, but at the same time, not necessarily looking forward to that part of it. And of course, we all miss Heath Ledger.
Let's put a smile on that face.
Tony?
God, that laugh is so much better.
How about no?
Tony, what do you think about his character being included in the Snyder cut of Justice League and what Zack may potentially do with it?
I don't know if I like that. I think he's trying to make it up to him because if you think about it, with all due respect, we make fun of Jared Leto's Joker all the time because it was not good. That might not 100% been his fault, as he was in Suicide Squad and it wasn't really based around the Joker. He was not in it very much to make much of an impact. So what we got of him was enough to be like, that was terrible. So he has a chance to right the wrong. Do I care that he's back? No. I would prefer him not to be in it at all. I don't know how that makes sense. What they should do is at this point, I don't care about a Justice League Snyder's cut. Like, just do a whole different one. Like, I don't care if you take the same cast, just tell a whole new story and just to hell with Josh Whedon's version. So what? If you need to interweave stuff, I'm sure people have forgotten about that version by this point. You could tie it together because it seems like every week, we're bringing back this person. Oh, Ben Affleck's coming back as Batman. And now it's so damn confusing because now you got Ben Affleck back as Batman, but then you also got Robert Pattinson as Batman. Now you got, this guy coming to play the Joker, and then this person's playing this, and it's enough to make your head spin, DC. Like, I'm going to enjoy it as a fan. We're going to take it in. We'll review it. We'll talk about it, but I'm not going to lie to you, man. My head spins on trying to keep up with who the hell's in what now.
I don't
It's
disagree.
weird.
Now,
Well, and it also doesn't help that Cyborg's got a damn lawsuit against the company, and he may not even be included. I don't even know with this kid.
Who knows? And obviously they've explained it away a little bit through the multiverse, but I'm looking forward to it. It can't be any worse than the Joss Whedon version, but you know what? We don't have to wait too long. I think it comes.
And isn't
out...
it weird that Joss Whedon gave us the first Avengers too?
Yeah. But
Which
that's
is strange.
It's a completely different feel. Avengers and Marvel tends to be a little more on the lighthearted side, whereas, Zack Snyder's DC Extended Universe tends to be darker, and those don't necessarily play well together.
No, it was not a good formula. It was pretty bad. I haven't watched it since. I
haven't either. I want to wait for the Snyder cut.
Yeah, I'll wait. I don't need to go back and watch the other stuff. We're good.
Now let's move on from DC over to Marvel, or Marvel adjacent. It looks like Marvel's most beloved Merc is finally returning to action. All has been quiet on the Deadpool front since Disney acquired Fox and announced plans to merge the X-Men into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Many have wondered if the R rating would be too much for the family-friendly franchise. However, the franchise seems to be prevailing as Disney and Marvel Studios are moving forward with Deadpool 3, and Ryan Reynolds obviously is returning to star and produce. There will be new writers this time around, so we're losing Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, which is sort of sad. But according to Deadline, Reynolds and Disney have tapped sisters Wendy Molyneux and Lizzie Molyneux-Leglin to write Deadpool 3. While they may not be a household name just yet, the Molyneux sisters are writers on the rise, having worked on Bob's Burgers for several years. Their new series, The Great North, is set to premiere on Fox in 2021 and has already been renewed for a second season. Tony, your thoughts on Deadpool coming back, part of the MCU? Do you think it'll be rated R, and do you think we're going to lose anything by losing Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick?
First answer, am I excited? Hell yeah. Very excited to see Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. You would have lost me if he was not coming back. I would have not had as much interest in it. I think as long as he has input and he has a voice to stand on and some creative input, I think it's good. I think it's going to hurt losing the writers of the first two. I think it's going to have a different feel. Like, sure, you can make it R-rated still, as it should be, but I think you're going to get a PG-13 version of him when he ties into the Avengers or any other MC movie. He's going to have it's going to be a little muted. Won't be anything as bad as Wolverine Origins, like that version of Deadpool won't exist.
God.
So that's a good thing. But am I excited about it? Yes, I am. I think it's all great. We need Deadpool in our lives. I just think it is going to have a little bit of a different feel.
Well, we know, Ryan Reynolds had a lot of input on the first two movies, even though he wasn't credited as a writer. A lot of that tone was namely him, which we'll get again. And then part of it is, who's going to direct? Tim Miller directed the first movie. You know him from Zombieland. David Leitch stepped in for Deadpool 2, probably most well known for the John Wick movies. But who knows who's going to be directing for the third one. But regardless, I'm excited. I want to see him back on the big screen, and I like that they're including him into the larger MCU.
Yeah, and I can't imagine like all the penis jokes and all that stuff. I think the sexual stuff's probably going to get watered down.
More than
with
likely.
It being Disney. Yeah, unless you're keeping it just on Hulu or something, I think you'll be fine. But anytime you're going to tie with Marvel, especially knowing Disney going to want to market this as a Disney toy, things like that, I got a bad feeling they're going to water it down a bit.
Yeah. Only time will tell. We'll see. But regardless, I'm excited, and Marvel has some good chops behind them that they'll treat it right, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be awesome for sure.
Let's stick in the world of Marvel. Moving on to a different series. Tony, as the nerd world turns, let's go ahead and hear your little song.
As the nerd world turns, there's another James Gunn story on the Proton Pack with Kris Tony. James Gunn. Nerd world turns.
Not as scandalous as it used to be, but
no. And now it's always good when we sing his praises. As the nerd world turns.
Between the time James Gunn was removed from his post atop Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and his eventual rehiring by Marvel Studios, the filmmaker says the script to the threequel changed very little. As the norm with the Scooby-Doo scribe, Gunn hosted a quick...
Like Scoob, James Gunn's coming back for Guardians.
James Gunn hosted a quick Q&A session with fans on Twitter Monday night, and that's where he revealed a few updates about the highly anticipated follow-up, including the fact his script has largely remained intact despite temporary personnel changes with the film. Responding to fans asking about the status of GOTG3, Gunn says...
G3.
The script is written and most of the production heads have been hired. He then followed that up with a subsequent tweet confirming the script has changed very little from the time he was let go. I didn't expect that that would necessarily be the case. Obviously, his influence in the first two movies were huge, and obviously his music choices, his pacing, his humor. the fact that it's not changing goes to show that Marvel believes more in the director and the series as opposed to just throwing somebody else in there to try and
they always have
imitate.
to try to mimic what the last person did. It doesn't work.
No. So I'm excited to hear that it's headed in the right direction, and I'm looking forward to a new Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, I am too, man. And what's great is getting James Gunn back is huge. We get to keep his script. That means the cast is going to be back intact. And furthermore, it's like they've already said this is the final one that he's doing, so they'll keep this as a trilogy. So now if it ever changes down the line, they have ways they can go about it. Like he's able to tell his story. He had his 3. I think you just keep it as a trilogy. I don't think you need to keep making other ones. I think they're great to appear in other movies and cameos and stuff. But I feel like between the Avengers and their stories, I mean, shoot, they weren't even supposed to be a part of the Avengers at any point.
No.
So they were just supposed to be like there. It was like a little side story and tie a few things together, but not be actually a part of it all. So the fact that they got to be a part of Endgame and Infinity War was great. So I'm good with it all.
I agree. And they may do another version of it somewhere with a different director, different writer, but it won't be the same. It won't be that same feeling. But you did mention having them be part of other movies and other projects, which brings us to our next story. So when we last saw Chris Hemsworth's Thor in Avengers Endgame, he had taken up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it looks like Taika Waititi's Thor Love and Thunder is going to pick up right where we left off, with none other than Chris Pratt reportedly joining the sequel's cast. The news comes courtesy of The Hollywood Reporter's Heat Vision, with the details pretty scant, except to say that this shouldn't come as a total shock to Marvel fans, given how the last film ended. They also mentioned that before he flies to Australia to take part in the Marvel epic, Pratt's due to complete a short round of reshoot for Paramount's big budget The Tomorrow War, which once upon a time was due out Christmas this year, but got delayed to July 23rd, 2021, for obvious reasons. It sounds like they may have taken the opportunity to tweak the film just a tad. So regardless of that, obviously Marvel, the one thing that they've done right through this entire journey of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that I think DC could have done better is every movie, regardless of the big, Avengers movies and the big, team up movies, has included one sort of secondary character in the film. So if you go back and think Thor Ragnarok included Hulk. You think, Iron Man 2 had Black Widow. Throw out a Marvel movie and there's always been somebody else. Even Spider-Man, Spider-Man, you had Iron Man who joined him in that. Spider-Man 2, Far From Home, you had Nick Fury. And so it sounds like they're continuing.
Well, in part 3, he's rumored to have Doctor Strange.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a great idea, and obviously they alluded to the Asgardians of the Galaxy at the end of Endgame. I'm looking forward to it, and the two of them playing off of one another is hilarious. And with what they can do with Taika Waititi, who knows where that's going to go.
Oh, it's going to be a fun one. Like, Taika Waititi would have been like the only guy I think that could have stepped into the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 role if James Gunn didn't come back. So
agreed.
But I love it because obviously he had a hand in, writing and doing some of the stuff for the end games and things like that. So it can be done, and I'm excited. And I'm excited for Thor: Love and Thunder, man. That movie that's up there. To the big Marvel movies I'm stoked for. It's that one, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse, and Spider-Man 3.
Yep.
I'm not saying I'm not for Shang-Chi, which we'll talk about, and the Eternals. I just don't know enough about those guys. So they're kind of on that lower end spectrum for me until they're introduced and I'm actually hooked. But those other ones are established. So I want gimme sequels.
Well, speaking of gimme, we move from Guardians over to Spider-Man. Spidey has landed in Atlanta with Spider-Man star Tom Holland shared a video to his Instagram story of himself deplaning in Atlanta as he found his way to the set of Spider-Man 3. The film itself officially began production earlier in the week with the second unit photography, and now that Holland has arrived, it's but a matter of time before principal photography gets underway as well. Holland's co-star Jacob Batalon was captured separately earlier in the day at the airport, also arriving for principal photography. It's a lot of P's.
A lot of pa. He's lost a lot of weight too. Good on him.
Yeah, and he's bald now. That's weird.
Yeah. There's gonna be some. You got some explaining to do. But
Holland said,
"Good on him though for the weight loss." Yeah, that's good.
Holland said in the video, "We just landed in Atlanta, and it's time for Spider-Man 3. Let's go." Obviously, he just finished filming the video game movie
Uncharted. Where he's going to be Nathan Drake. So
this is good news. Obviously, we're getting a third Spider-Man under the foresight of the MCU. Who knows where it's going to go after that, but I'm looking forward to it. And we know we've got Benedict Cumberbatch, who's coming back as Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it all rolls in, and that one comes out for Christmas of next year. So you got a year, but that's okay. It's going to be good, and just praying that a year from now when we're doing this, the theaters will, things will be back. The vaccine will be kicking ass, and this won't be such a thing anymore.
Exactly. And then finally, let's move on to our last bit of movie news. Happens to be more MCU news. Well, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is the latest film.
Snoochie boochie noochies.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe that has completed production. Simu Liu, the frontman of the upcoming superhero pick, as well as the film's director, Destin Daniel Cretton, enthusiastically announced that the film has wrapped shooting. He says, "We made a baby," declared Liu on Instagram with a pic of him adorned in lace. "We can't wait to introduce him to the world in 9 months." Cretton also posted a picture of himself, his wife Nikki Chapman, his sister Joy Cretton, and actor Zhang Meng, announcing that they have wrapped. In the private Facebook group Subtle Asian Traits, Liu explained the impact of the first Asian-fronted superhero movie at Marvel Studios. He said, "For all those who hated us because of the color of our skin or been made to feel less than because of it, no more. This is our movie, and it will be impossible for Hollywood to ignore us after this." Regardless of, typecasting and everything that they alluded to there, I'm looking forward to it. Shang-Chi is a lesser-known character that, Marvel has already proven that they can make some great movies out of lesser-known characters. And, again, they're going to treat it right.
Oh, for sure. I'm not too familiar for it other than you got kind of a little teaser of the 10 Rings from Iron Man 3. They kind of crapped the bed with that, but maybe they'll take some of that and rectify it and fix it in this. I'm not sure how it's all going to go, but we'll see how it goes. Like I said, the first time I ever heard of Guardians of the Galaxy, I knew they were a comic book, but wasn't familiar with them. And I was just like, I don't know how that's going to be, but you watch it, you fall in love with it. And I think with the MCU, I think they could do really no wrong. Can you name one MCU movie under their banner that's been bad?
No, not at all.
I can't either. Like, I can rank lower ones than higher ones, but none of them were bad. Like Thor: The Dark World, right? It wasn't the best MCU movie, but it sure as heck wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't as good as Ragnarok or something. It was good.
Yeah.
Because hell, even the first Thor was just kind of ho-hum. It was like, okay. Like, it was good, but nothing was bad. So, and I expect this to be the same way. I expect it to be one of those, like, okay, sounds good. Yeah. I hope it really, when you tie in Kung Fu and everything, Marvel action, it should be a good time.
It will be. Now, you mentioned the 10 Rings, which Marvel's already retconned. In Iron Man 3, they sort of crapped the bed a little bit with the Mandarin and Ben Kingsley's version, who is really Trevor or something or other. And
hey man, no, I'm just an actor, man. No.
And they basically said that the 10 Rings were, sects of a terrorist organization. Well, if you remember, Tony, they did a Mandarin short that brought back Ben Kingsley, which righted those wrongs, basically saying that he wasn't the Mandarin, that Guy Pearce's character wasn't the Mandarin, that the Mandarin was actually a character that existed, and that the 10 Rings were, these mystical artifacts.
Oh, that was on one of the one-shots, huh?
It was, yeah.
I don't think I watched that one. I'll have to go back and watch it. I know it's one of the deleteds on one of the special DVDs of one of the Marvel movies.
That's your homework assignment for this week, Tone.
Okay, deal.
All right.
And I apologize too if you guys are watching and you see me yawning. I swear it's not the show that's dragging for me. It is literally my body is just tired
You've had some
from
long
work,
nights.
and I have to prep for another overnight shift right after this. So my body's just so I apologize. And I did take a Zip Fizz, but I'm not very zippy.
Fair enough. Now we are headed towards the end of the show. Before we get to video games, we've got one bit of actually toy news. Tony, are you a Lego fan?
I love Legos.
Are you a Ghostbusters fan? Like I even need to ask.
Does a bear shit in the woods?
Well, when most
Excellent!
blockbusters hit theaters, they are preceded or followed by some sort of merchandising. But as the COVID-19 pandemic has basically wiped out the 2020 slate, we've seen more than a few instances of merchandising arriving without film to support it. Lego has unveiled a new set that features a recreation of the Ecto-1 that will be popping up in Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was slated to hit theaters earlier this summer and was delayed several times before landing on June 11th, 2021. Lego has released several versions of the Ecto-1 in the past, but at 8 inches high, 18 inches long, and 6 inches wide, this one is by far the biggest and most detailed one yet. And then
Ghostbusters!
Scrolling down, of course, it will be released with a hefty price tag. The Lego set will consist of 2,352 pieces and will be released. Actually, it looks like it was already released November 15th for $199.99. That's a lot to pay, but if you are a Lego fan, if you are a Ghostbusters fan, this thing looks badass.
It really does. Well, it's not much. It's a value compared to what the Firehouse was.
Yeah.
Like that one, that was like what, almost $400 for the Firehouse to build all that.
Yeah,
that was pretty pricey.
Which it was a great set, but this one is purely just the Ecto-1. They had that limited release smaller one that included all of the characters. It doesn't appear that this one's going to include any of the minifigs, though.
No, it doesn't look like it. I mean, it's a total look of the Afterlife Ecto-1. So,
yeah.
So the little removable thing. So, I mean, nonetheless, it looks hella cool.
Needless to say, fans, if you really enjoy the show and you feel like getting one of us a Christmas present, I wouldn't mind a Ghostbusters Ecto-1 Lego set.
Oh, that would be a very, very nice gift. I mean, definitely, who would turn that down?
Not me, that's for sure.
Nobody.
All right, and finally, let's head into the final segment of the show, and let's talk video games. Tony, go ahead and hit that button for our video game news.
Hey man, you want to play some video games?
So first up in a trio of video game news, a bad thing has released some good news, so to speak. Capcom has fallen victim to a significant attack orchestrated by hackers who have now obtained and are releasing sensitive information like a lineup of the publisher's planned video games. The list of games that have since leaked after the attack spans several years, with huge franchises like Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, and Street Fighter showing up in the information. Releases time frames for those titles have similarly been leaked, but as is the case with things like this that are not yet officially announced, those releasing timings are very much subject to change. Since the attack happened, information has started trickling out online through various forums and other platforms where people discuss these findings. Some of those details include the supposed release timeframe for Resident Evil Village, which looks badass, by the way, which is set to be available sometime in April, if the leaks play out correctly. Other Resident Evil projects made appearances like Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is supposed to be out sometime in Q4 of 2022. Resident Evil is just one of the many franchises that was referenced in the leak info, though. A Dragon's Dogma 2, not familiar with that, is reportedly in development for Q2 of 2022 fiscal year. Another Monster Hunter game is reportedly in development as well, though that should be a little surprise given how popular the franchise has gotten over the years. Of course, there's a movie coming out here soon. The same goes for Street Fighter, with a new Street Fighter 6 reportedly releasing sometime in Q3 of 2022. Obviously, big news. We knew that Street Fighter V was on the way out. I think that's probably the biggest news I'm excited for, is to see how they're going to change Street Fighter 6, how that's going to affect maybe some upcoming Marvel vs. Capcom games. And then, of course...
I was bummed that there was no Marvel vs. Capcom news in that. I was
too.
really hoping when I saw Capcom leak, instantly it was like new Marvel.
Yeah.
Or even re-release Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Switch.
Yeah.
Give me a Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Put them on the next gen Sims. I'll take the old stuff. I don't give a crap.
That would be great.
Give me a Versus series collection, Give me X-Men versus Street Fighter, just give it all. Big package release. Shut up and take my money. I'm in. The one thing I thought was kind of lame in this, though, is, okay, so you got Street Fighter 6 coming out, which is great, and I hope it's not a PlayStation exclusive. That is one of the bummer things. You can only get Street Fighter 5 on the PS5 or PS4. I hope Street Fighter 6 is on all platforms, and what should be good is they should do it multiplayer across platforms. So that way, I would get it on the Switch. That'd be a lot of fun to take on the go.
Oh, totally.
I would imagine if it keep the formula. But what was dumb was they had Super Street Fighter 6 coming out in Q4 of fiscal year 23, and then you had Ultra Street Fighter 6 in Q4 of 24, which means that you're going to be the one you're going to buy is the cookie cutter version, and then this one, and then the deluxe one at the end. And Capcom's been doing that forever. They've done that since Super Nintendo days, so really doesn't surprise me. But just come out with one version and then make a sequel and move on.
Yeah. My hope with that is that they change the character models. The Street Fighter 5 character models are all like, super shouldery with little heads, and it just didn't
go
work
back
for
to
me.
Just the sprites. Like give me, or like
2D,
animated drawn cells or something. Just would be great.
Yeah, or some sort of mashup of both. That's what I'm looking forward to. And then Resident Evil Village, is that something you're looking forward to, Tone?
I would play it. I still haven't played the last Resident Evil, the 7th one, but which they just called it Biohazard. I didn't even play that one. But yeah, it looks sweet.
Yeah.
Graphics make it look great. And, these new Resident Evil games are good. I would have probably skipped the Resident Evil 4 remake. I feel like 4 was pretty good as it was.
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to go back and remake any Resident Evil Codex Veronica that was on the Dreamcast, that would have been a sweet remake. Because I think that one played like the old chunky controls. So, because the remakes of Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 have been just badass. So.
Exactly. Yeah, the other thing I was sort of bummed that wasn't included in here was any Mega Man news.
Yeah, I read that they're going to do a Mega Man. I got an updated list here. There was more that got out. There is going to be like a Mega Man remake type game. It just says like Mega Man something, Rockman remix. Don't know. And Rockman is what Mega Man is in Japan. So, so you'll get something along those lines. And then also on this list, a Final Fight remake.
Okay.
Coming in Q2 of fiscal year 24, and Power Stone remake.
Interesting.
So the Power Stone series will come back, which were really popular on the Dreamcast. So a couple of cool things. While it sucks that Capcom got hacked and their games got leaked, but I would say it's pretty accurate based on the way Capcom does have a way they release games and stuff. And every April you get a Resident Evil game. So I feel like this is a legit list of things to come. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel like it's made up crap. I think it's all real.
Well, moving on from Capcom leak to another video game leak, a new Nintendo Switch leak has reportedly shed some light on the rumored Nintendo Switch
leakage,
Pro.
On this episode.
Yeah, leakage normally isn't good, but in this case it kind of is. So there's the rumored Nintendo Switch Pro, which has and continues to be billed as a technically upgraded Switch to close the gap between the current Switch and the imminent next-gen PlayStation and Xbox consoles. Previous rumors and leaks have suggested the console will have 4K capabilities and an improved battery, and it looks like Nintendo could be poised to add this with an improved screen. According to Japanese outlet Economic Daily News, the Nintendo Switch Pro will come packing a mini LED display made by Taiwanese panel manufacturer Innolux Corporation. The report, relayed by Nintendo Life, continues by alleging that Nintendo recently visited the manufacturer. Why is this notable? Well, because it already has a screen supplier in the form of JDI and Sharp. However, it looks like Nintendo may be changing partners as part of a move to an improved LED screen. Currently, the Switch boasts a backlit 270p LCD screen. It was pretty dated tech when it was released, and it's even more dated now, but Nintendo went with it to keep costs down. However, it looks like at the very least contemplating going with a better and more expensive screen for its better and more expensive Switch. Aside from just sort of screen updated rumors, I'd be willing to switch out my Switch for a Switch Pro if that's the case. If it has a better screen, better battery life, and can put 4K up onto our TV screens.
Absolutely, I would too. And one thing too, get a better docking system.
Yes.
Because sometimes I feel like my Switch is not on the dock. It feels super loose and weird. And I feel like I'm scratching the screen every time I put it in there. Like I'm always on the side and I'm very careful with it, but I feel like I'm scraping it, like getting it out. And just a couple of other complaints, if I must say, about the Switch. I love the Nintendo Switch. It is a Fabu system. It is great. I just talked to my uncle into buying one the other day because we were out and about. And they went ahead and got a Black Friday bundle with Mario Kart and stuff, and they love it. They're so glad they got it because they wanted to play Mario Brothers. I'm like, just go get the Switch. It's on there with the online. Trust me, just get the Switch. I don't like where the cartridges go. I hate that you have to lift that little flap and you slide it and then you put the little spot. Just give me something to pop in on the side. Just a little push eject in out. Like I don't need a little cover over it. And just the way the power button is, I just kind of the layout is a little funky.
Yeah, change the layout. The little kickstand, every time I pop that out the kickstand comes flying off.
Yeah. It's a little on the cheapy side. What they should do is have a little bit better, like a middle piece that actually just folds out and is more durable. Mm-hmm. Easier to do. So definitely a little layout change there. I'd be all for. Because there is some wonkiness to the actual design of the system. However, the system itself is freaking phenomenal.
It is.
It's great. It is a great system.
My only other ask is get some ergonomically created Joy-Cons made for those of us with bigger hands. Because, if I play the Switch with the regular Joy-Cons on the Switch itself for the little adapter, my hands start to ache after 30, 40 minutes, and my hands aren't built for these tiny little controllers.
Yeah, they are really small. I would agree with you. That's why I got a Pro controller. I enjoy playing it with the Pro controller versus the Joy-Cons.
Yeah, and
I did New Mario Brothers U with my aunt, and we had to turn the little controller sideways. So just playing it like this.
Not easy.
It was very hard to do.
Yeah, I've got a couple wired Pro controllers. I need to add a wireless to it. I can't sit.
You should on the Black Friday deals. So we're doing this. Today is Tuesday, November 24th. The Black Friday deals you can get online right now. You can get, I think they're at Walmart or Walmart.com, and they're like $29.
That's not bad
for a wireless.
That's not bad at all. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. But needless to say, great system. Looking forward to the Pro version coming out. And yeah, I may have to upgrade when that does happen.
Yeah, and that'd be good. I just take you take your other Switch, and that one you actually take on the go.
Yeah.
Because I'm always worried, like, I don't like taking mine on the go just because, like, if it breaks or something, like, that's your whole system. Like, so I'm just like, I don't know if I want to take it. I give up. But at least if I had my Pro one at home, I could take this one on the go, no problem. Keep it docked in another room.
Mm-hmm. Well, the good news is
probably a little comfier with that.
Yeah, I got mine from Costco, so if something happens.
Yeah, you never know.
And then finally, folks, let's head into our final story, not only of video game news, but also of the day.
Of this episode. This big lunch-size 58. God, I hope we tested the echo problem. We did before, right?
I did, so
okay, I don't want to do this again.
Issues. Oh, I don't either.
And not unless we do 59 and it's a completely new stories.
So we've spouted our love over previous episodes of the arcade one-up cabinets. They are these sort of shrunken down arcade versions of games that we grew up loving. Well, there is a brand new one.
Loving you.
And Arcade One-Up, the makers of retro arcade cabinets and other accessories, has introduced their first sit-down arcade driving cabinet. The cabinet includes 1986's Outrun, 1989's Turbo Outrun, 1992's Outrunners, and 1988's Power Drift. Most notably, rather than having to stand to play it like a normal arcade cabinet, the package includes a custom matching bench seat, just like the arcade of Days Gone By. And we'll post that up on for everybody to see. But, it's nice to see that they're branching out from just their stand-up cabinets. We know that they've got the tabletops. They've got the video pinball machines. I want to say they released they released their first deer hunter, big game hunter shooting cabinet as well. So they keep expanding, and this looks like a fun one for those driving arcade fans, that grew up like us playing these in the bowling alleys and the arcades and all of that as we were growing up.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love the look of it. It totally reminds me of the one I used to play, minus the sit down. We didn't have the sit down version of Outrun. We had Outrun and Road Blasters at the round table on Highway 50, which is now, I think, Flat Earth Pizza or something like that nowadays.
It is, yeah.
But when you go in, you used to walk in, and to your right, they had this little arcade room. And I always remember playing Outrun all the time there at that round table.
Yeah, so much fun. And then, the price points, they're not cheap, but at the same time, you can get one of their standard arcade cabinets for about $2.99. Their expanded ones for about $3.99. And, of course, this one having all those extra features will run you about $4.99.
You know what I'd like is I'd like one of these plus a regular arcade machine, but I would want a Raspberry Pi modded in there because it just gets expensive, man. You look at these games for what you're paying for, you're getting 4 games, which is sweet, but they're not like top-notch games today by today's standards.
Yeah.
You can get these on a lot of compilation video games for less than $30, yada, yada. It's for the whole arcade experience. And it's like for every game you want, you can only put so many arcades in a room.
Right.
There's only so many power outlets you're allotted. So for me, I would like maybe just like one 4-player cabinet modded for 4-player games, one 2-player cabinet for just your basic 2 players, and then maybe a sit down to do like games like Daytona USA, Outrun, stuff, Cruising USA. Obviously, the world of modding out there, I'm sure it exists. I don't know where to get it. You guys do research and
Well, we'll see this Christmas. I may be starting the addiction. I am saving up for the X-Men versus Street Fighter cabinet to add to the home studio here.
Yeah.
And
it'd be great, man.
Looking forward to it.
I was going to buy the NBA Jam one at work, the display. Somebody bought it the other day. But it's kind of good I didn't buy it because, after a couple months, like it was missing one of the basketball knobs off the joystick. I think if I had 10,000 boogers and germs all over, and the sound didn't work anymore. So I guess it's not a total loss.
No.
He got it for a good price, though. I think he got it for a little under $150. So.
Oh man, that's a killer price.
Sure, you can order parts and just fix it yourself. So
yeah. But well worth checking out. And then obviously when I get mine, I'll update you guys, let you know how they play.
Yeah, you better, Mr.
Boom shakalaka!
But folks, you know what? That does it for the show. As always, we thank you guys for sticking in there, listening, participating, sharing, everything that you do, whether it's on the podcast or on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Proton Pack Podcast, where, of course, we put all the stories on to there. Tony, it's been a long episode, but long overdue. Hopefully everybody enjoys it. Any parting words you want to leave us with?
Find a great gift certificate now or a creative excuse later. Amazon Black Friday is here. Get your gifting done early. I just read you an advertisement that popped up on my computer screen.
There you go. Thanks again, folks. We love it, as always, when you interact.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Tony, go ahead and play us on out.
Oh, that's the end of the game.
Yowie wowie!
I am
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Woo! Yowie wowie!
Mommy, where's Fluffy?
Goodbye.